Hi friends, welcome again to this new session on AWS. So in the last session we basically had discussed about uh, AWS CLI, that is command line interpreter, wherein we started with S3. We just launched a new EC2 instance wherein we installed AWS CLI and then we configured our AWS account. Post, we just fired some of the basic commands for AWS S3. So that was introduction to CLI with S3, and now what we'll be moving to is DynamoDB. So we will just do the same things again, and this time we'll just introduce you to 2 or 3 basic AWS CLI commands like create table and then pushing some values into that table and scanning the table. So this we'll be doing in this session. So let's get started. We'll sign on. Okay, so now we are there. So again, first of all, we'll be just launching a new EC2 instance. If you have instance already there which you have stopped, you can start that instance. We are not running any instances, so we'll launch a new instance. Launch instance. Again, we'll pick this T2 micro. So this we have done like 2 or 3 times, so I guess you'll be pretty familiar with this now. So I'll say my micro. Configure security group. I'll allow the access from anywhere. Review launch, and you can simply launch it. Key well pair you can give, say launch instance. Okay, so instances are now launching. We can view the instances. Once the instance is up and running, we'll be able to see our public IP and public DNS. Okay, so by that time you can just pull up your putty, because for making connection to our EC2 instance we'll require putty. Yeah, okay, so now it is up now. We have our public IP available and we also have our public DNS. So open putty, expand SSH, go to auth, browse to your private key, select that, go to session, fill in your IP, public IP, say open. Try again. Okay, cool. So now we are able to connect to our EC2 instance. Just provide the login name, which will be Ubuntu. Okay, so now we are in the system. So first of all, again, we will just install our AWS CLI. So we can say AWS or sudo apt-get install AWS CLI. Say yes. So now it is getting all the packages. So now we are done with this. Our AWS CLI is up. So I've cleared the screen. Now we will do AWS configure. We have to configure our AWS account. Again, it will ask for access key ID and secret access key. So this we created in our previous tutorial also. So I would request you to go ahead and use the same keys. I will also do the same. Under your username, you can click my security credentials. So this is my active key as of now. And similarly, we'll just punch in our secret access key. And you can give a default region if you want to. I'm simply sticking with US East 1 and I don't want any default output format. So this will configure our AWS account, and after this we can start firing AWS CLI commands. So in this case, first of all, we'll be creating a new table, that is a DynamoDB table we'll be creating. So let's start with that. So the command is AWS DynamoDB create table, and then we have to specify the table name like this. You can say table name, and then you can give the table name again, which we will give as employee. We have to specify, and then we can give attributes. So whatever the attributes we want to have, that will come under attribute definitions. So it will be like this. Attribute definitions, and inside this we'll give the attribute name. So what is the attribute name? Herein we'll be defining our schema equals. So we can give emp id. So employee id will be taking, and its type will be n. So n basically means number. Okay, so we want it to be number, and then we will be giving our key schema. That can be your primary key. We'll say key schema. Again, in this we'll have to give attribute name. So it will be our emp id, and key type will be hash. So we will be taking key type as hash only. And then we have to configure the throughput. So we will be discussing all this. That is provisioned throughput. In this we have to configure read capacity units and write capacity units. So we'll say read capacity units. We'll give 5 reads, and write capacity units, we'll give 5 writes. Hit enter. So now we are getting one error here. Attribute for parameter, where choices are attribute type and attribute name. Okay, so I think we are missing something. Oh yeah, herein we have to change attribute type. Okay, it says resource already exists exception. So table employee is already there, so we will change it. We will call it employee 1. Okay, so our table is created. You can see it up here. Employee 1 table is created, and we have defined our key. So first of all, the syntax is pretty simple. AWS DynamoDB, this we have to prefix, then we have to give that table name in create table. This is the create table that we want to fire create table command, and after this we can say table name. Table name is employee 1, which we have created, and the attribute definitions inside this will be basically specifying our schema. Here we have specified employee ID, and name of the column is employee ID, and the attribute type is n. So attribute type can be your S, N or B. So if your column is of string, you can simply say S, which represents string. If it is number, you can say N, which in this case is number, and if it is a binary, you can simply specify it attribute type as. And then key schema, inside this we have to define our primary key schema, and again it takes key schema parameter is there. It takes attribute name, employee ID in this case is our key, and key type is hash. We'll be using hashing, and then provision throughput. So read capacity units and write capacity unit basically means we have 5 reads and 5 writes per second. So this is just an overview. We will be having a separate tutorial on this throughput, wherein we'll be discussing this provision throughput, read capacity units and write capacity units.